How wild is that?
If I hadn't, plucked up the courage to come to that event on my own in January, then we wouldn't even be here right now.
We wouldn't. How crazy is that? Like, wild. Your failures are what is going to teach other people how to do things better. I lost my job as a professional dancer. Everything that I learned, I now use now. You need to not give, actually, a flying fajita to what anybody has to say about. We're in COVID, lost my job, penniless, on universal credit. Come on, let's
All right.
do it.
Hello and welcome to the first official episode of the Pivot Project.
Woohoo!
Woo! It's been a long time coming, but I am here with my very special guest, Georgia Rae Jasmine. Woo!
Hi, guys.
How are you, Georgia?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. So a little bit about Georgia, if you didn't know, get to know. She is a business consultant, a serial entrepreneur of 3 businesses, Bare for the Skin, the Fierce Females Club, and Georgia Rae Jasmine Consultancy. I can't believe it. That's
Neither
a lot.
can I.
You're taking up a lot of space,
Yeah,
Georgia.
it's a lot. It's a lot, but it's worth it.
It is. It is. I actually met Georgia, funnily enough, at her first community event that she ran for the Fierce Females Club in January.
Yes! First anniversary is coming up.
It's coming up, guys. So if you're not a member, you need to become a member. Yeah. If not, you're missing out. But it's crazy, right? It's been a crazy 12 months as well. And it's actually been a massive privilege to see you grow, personally and professionally. So thank you for the honor of being the first guest on the podcast.
Of course, babe. When you asked me, I was like, yeah, I'll be there.
You'll be there. And she was there. Amazing. Well, Georgia, can you tell me a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis? Because, I'm sure people see you on Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn, but what do you actually do on a day-to-day basis?
So it's spinning a lot of plates. And I think I should show more of that actually, because, being honest and authentic on social media is the key. And also if you inspiring people, you need to be showing them the highs, the lows, the pitfalls, all of it. But the consultancy side of things is very, very busy. I spend my days coaching women. The business side of things, it pretty much runs itself. But in January of 2025, we are bringing everything back in-house.
Okay.
Because customer service is key. And the thing with product-based businesses is that as you grow and scale, it's very easy to lose control of that. And then Fierce Females Club, woo! I adore that community so much. It's changed my life. It's changed so many people's lives.
It's changed my life as well.
Yeah, literally, we would never have met. How wild is that?
If I hadn't, plucked up the courage to come to that event on my own in January, that nice little women in business event, then we wouldn't even be here right now.
We wouldn't. How crazy is that? Wild. But I love FFC. I think, honestly, Fierce Females Club has brought me the most challenges, interestingly enough.
Okay.
Because when you're passionate about something and something's born out of your own struggle, it's very difficult to put that business hat on. We'll dive into that, I think, a bit more. But
we will dive into that for sure. But obviously, you're a business consultant, you've got these businesses, but tell me a little bit about your background, right? So I don't think a lot of people know about, how you actually became the business consultant you are today. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey?
So I'll start with that your failures are what is going to teach other people how to do things better. So becoming a business consultant isn't about all your wins. It's actually more about the things that have gone wrong. I would much rather have a consultant that has, lost everything and rebuilt than a consultant who's just high flying, because then when they can already see the pitfalls that I'm going to fall into because they've experienced them. I start there because I lost my job as a professional dancer due to COVID. I started dancing when I was 2 years old. I was one of those girls that wasn't bothered about school, wasn't bothered about exams, couldn't wait to get out of school because I loved to dance. I trained, since I was 2, and I used to train after school and on the weekends. And then it got to GCSE time and my mum was putting so much pressure on me, obviously, because GCSEs are important. But I made a deal with her that, okay, if I get through my GCSEs and I do well, I can leave school and go to a vocational dance school. And she was like, yeah, no problem. So I did just that, and I left school and I went to go and train at the Hammond. which is a vocational dance school in Chester. If you don't know what a vocational dance school is, it is essentially like Fame.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you dance from like 8 o'clock till 6 o'clock. I had the time of my life, met the most incredible lifelong friends. Like, we laugh about situations that happen to this day. But then we all parted ways.
Sure.
We all parted ways and we all got jobs all around the world. I went and worked for a major cruise line company, and I did that for 7 years. I became a cast manager, which taught me a lot about leadership. It taught me a lot about dealing with different people's characters. It taught me a lot about the way that people learn, the way that people absorb information, people's incentives for success, people's KPIs. Like, everybody is so different. And your love language actually has a lot to do with how you measure your success. So for some people, if I gave them a words of affirmation being like, oh my God, you did so well, that would fuel them to smash the next cruise of shows. For some people, it wouldn't do anything. I would need to give them a physical incentive. Right, okay, if you smash the next week of shows, you can have Coco K off, which was like this private beach club that we used to go to. You can have that off. You could go spend the day there. That would encourage them to go. Do you know what I mean? People's incentives are different. So it taught me a lot, unbeknownst to me. Everything that I learned, I now use now. Before I started traveling, I used to have really bad skin. Which, when I say that, people can't believe it.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, people can't believe it. They're like, oh my God, your skin's amazing. Like, if you go on my Instagram or if you go on Bear's Instagram, you'll see my skin. My skin was terrible. I tried everything on the market. I went to the GP and literally nothing worked. So I started blending together my own natural cream concoction, and it worked. We're in COVID, lost my job, penniless, on universal credit. My mum's come into my room. I'm scrolling on my phone and she's like, Georgia, you need to find a way to make money from that. Like, you are missing a trick there. Back in my day, we didn't have access to the internet at our fingertips. And I just thought, oh yeah, mum, whatever. She left my room and I sat there and I thought, actually, like, she's so right. Like, I should be making money off this. And then obviously the next question was, what are you going to sell? So I thought, oh, I'll sell dance classes. But there were so many people doing like free fitness classes and what was he called? Joe Wicks?
Yeah, like
online training. And everyone started free because everyone was at home, right? So I was like, I'm not going to make money off that because there's so many people offering free classes. Then I thought about like, I don't know, like some dance kind of books. I was like, well, if the dance industry is never going to come back, why is anyone going to buy a dance book? And then my mind went back to the cream that I made. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to sell it.
How old were you when you actually like made the cream? So just for context.
Like 14.
Okay, so you were 14.
Yeah.
And then when you decided to then
I was
monetize it?
19.
So 5 years later.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 19. Yeah. And so... was I 19? Came back from my end of first contract, second contract. No, I was 20 or just turned 21, around there.
So something that you had created for yourself 6 years prior, you were now seeing as a potential business idea.
Yeah, but I didn't have a clue about business.
Right.
All I knew how to do was sell. Like, I wouldn't say like I'm good at sales. I would say that I was good at showing up.
Okay.
I'm good at being online. I'm good at talking. And if I'm passionate about something, I can almost convey that through socials. That was my power. That was the one thing that I was good at.
Where do you think that skill came from then?
Dancing. Confidence, yeah. The confidence to just show up and not really care what anybody thinks about you. And so many people ask me like, oh my God, Georgia, like imposter syndrome, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you need to not give actually a flying fajita what anybody has to say about you. You need to not care.
Sorry, every time you say a flying fajita, I'm like...
You need to not care.
Yeah.
You need to not care. And the only reason I am where I am is because when I put out those creams in shitty packaging with bad labels that I'd made online, I didn't care if anyone slated it. I wasn't bothered. I was like, I know why I'm doing this, because I want to own a skincare brand. So that persistence and resilience paid off, because by the time the world started to open up again, I then decided to do market stalls, which I would encourage anybody who's starting a business, specifically product-based, to get on a market stall, because it is the most epic market research. You can see exactly who is coming to your stall, who's walking past, who's ignoring it, who's buying, what kind of person. I built up the most incredible persona of my target audience, because before then I just thought, oh, it's for everyone. Nothing is for everyone. Nothing. If you think about Pepsi and Coke, it's the same thing. They have a target audience. It's two very different people. And makeup, you think about different makeup. Like, I would never buy Made by Mitchell, but I know friends who do. The packaging just is not me, right? So I built up this really good picture of my target audience from markets, and I was able then to go back and rebrand. Again, start before you're ready. If you start something and it looks terrible, you're doing it right. It's meant to look terrible. You're meant to recalibrate as you go. And once I generated enough revenue in the business, I was able to then go back and rebrand and make it look how it should look. We've won some awards, which is great. We've been featured in some really cool magazines, been on the TV, but ultimately I would not have got to where I am now if I didn't lose my job. Because I probably would still be dancing around the world. Like, I wouldn't have had any reason to quit. I wouldn't have had any reason to leave. But how did I become a business consultant? People started asking me for advice. People started asking me, Georgia, I'm in this situation. Georgia, I want to start this business. What do I do? And at the time, I was like, oh, I just give people advice. Like, that's fine. But then I realized, actually, like, people are asking me for advice and it's working. Maybe I should start charging for this. Maybe I should start charging for this. And yeah, it's just grown and grown and grown. And I think the reason that it's become so successful is because the proof is in the pudding. You know what I mean? Like, you can't tell someone how to do something if you haven't done it yourself or you haven't failed at it. It doesn't matter if you were successful or you failed, you learned something either way. So for me, my failures was trying to scale too quickly. So now if I get someone who comes to me who's like, I want to hit 6 figures in a year, and they've only just started their business, I'm like, halt, no, you don't. Are you ready for that? Do you know what that entails? There's so many questions that you have to ask yourself before you get to that point. People just think about the money, and I was there where I was like, I just want to make money. Now it's like, no, it's not just about the money. It's about the culture of the organization. It's about the culture of the business. It's about empowering people. It's about changing lives. It's about impact. So I think business coaching has become my passion. And someone asked me at a speaking gig the other day if I had to give up 2 of my businesses and only be left with one.
Wow, what a question.
I literally, if I had to give them up, what would I give up? And I said, Bear and FFC. Love you girls. Love you girls.
Wow.
But the reason
Heard
why...
it here first, guys.
The reason why is because of the impact of coaching. Like,
sure.
You are literally changing someone's life, and that is priceless.
You mentioned that, you know, due to like having a background in dance and, you know, you became a casting manager quite young, right? So there was a lot of confidence. What advice would you give to people who maybe don't have that type of background, but they do want to kind of build a business or they want to create something for themselves? Like, what sort of advice would you give them?
I would say learn and get comfortable with negotiations. I think it's not necessarily the job role that gave me the confidence. It was the fact that I had to get really comfortable with knowing my worth and asking for more.
Yes.
When I first started working for the cruise line company, I learned the power of negotiation, which is something that really brings you confidence. I think a lot of people think that the confidence came from the job. It came from knowing my worth, and that's really, really, really important. So I would say to anybody who is wanting to step into business, before you even think about, okay, like let's invest some money into it or whatever, you need to know your worth. It starts internally, like it starts mentally. And if you're going into business doubting yourself, you're not going to get very far. You have to have that self-confidence. And something that you've done recently, taking up Savvy Heels, that doing something like that pushes yourself so far out of your comfort zone is what you think, oh, that's got nothing to do with business. It has everything to do with business.
Absolutely.
You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. It will stretch you. Being a business owner will stretch you on a daily basis. You'll go through times where you are doing so much but feel like you're doing nothing. Like that's something that I battle with a lot. Like I can have the most jam-packed day and sit at home and be like, I didn't do enough. But that's because your goals are so big, your ambitions are so big that you're constantly on the go. You can go through days where nothing has gone right. You've invested money into something and it's all gone to shit. That is, again, very mentally taxing. But if you don't have that self-confidence and that grounding in, I know who I am and I know my worth, it will destroy you. That was really negative, but it will.
No, you're absolutely right, though,
it
right?
will destroy you. And I think people go into business so lightheartedly. It's like, oh, I'm just going to start a business and I'm just going to put some money into something and hopefully I get a return. No, it's about more than that. It's about more than what you're selling. It's about how you view yourself, how you view others, the work ethic, like, yeah.
If, you know, I'm sure like there's been times where, you know, like you said earlier, there's been challenges that come with running multiple businesses. What are some like strategies that you find helpful to kind of get you back to baseline and you know, see things in more of an optimistic way?
I think compartmentalising, which is something that I think this year I've really, really worked on, being able to be like, I used to love Keeping Up with the Kardashians, okay? And there's this episode where Kim, and granted, like, there's this big question mark of, does she work? Does she not work? Who knows? One thing for sure is she's got a stellar personal brand. That is undeniable. Regardless of whether you like someone or not, you cannot deny that every single one of those Kardashians has got the most incredible personal brand, which if you see me on Instagram, that's what I preach about. Personal brand will take you from here to here. You could be selling the worst product in the world, but your personal brand is so on fire that it's sold, right? There's an episode where she talks about compartmentalising and she sees it as like swiping in her brain. And that's something that I try to emulate on a daily basis, whereby if I'm in FFC mode, I'm in FFC mode. If I'm in consultancy mode, I'm in consultancy mode. If I'm dealing with customer service issues with Bear, I'm dealing with customer service issues with Bear. I'm not trying to pick up one thing and then pick up something else, because that's when your brain gets muddled. So I think that helps me with my optimism, and also celebrating even the smallest of wins. So it doesn't matter whether it's, oh my God, I've just gained 2 extra followers, or oh my goodness, I've just brought on like a high ticket client, or whatever it is, celebrate it. And that's something you told me actually, that I have to start celebrating more of my wins. And I've definitely taken it on board. And when something good does happen, I'm not trying to move straight on to the next thing. I'm trying to sit in it and relish in it and think, this is actually incredible. Like, I had to ask ChatGPT the other day. I had to ask, because when you're ambitious, you struggle to see your wins, right? And I typed everything that I've achieved into ChatGPT and I was like, is this good? Is this good?
You could have just called me and I'd have been like, yes, it's amazing.
Literally, and it's like, it's the need not for validation is great, but also sometimes you do need that little bit of validation. You do need that little bit of like, actually you've smashed it, like that's really good. So yeah, I think I pride myself, my mum says this to me all the time, on being hyper independent, not needing validation. I'm okay all the time, doesn't matter what's going on with me, I'm good, like I am living. But that can also be really destructive at the same time, because sometimes you do need someone to give you that pat on the back and be like, you're doing great. But me being me is like, I don't need anyone to tell me I'm doing great. You do. There's nothing wrong with that. I think this culture in the world today makes you think like, oh, validation is such a bad thing. No, if it's healthy validation, it's great.
True. It's actually funny because I was doing a coaching call yesterday, and this is another thing that we were talking about how if someone was to transition into self-employment or business owner, it's really important to have people around you that will celebrate like every single win or tell you to like slow down and take stock of everything. I think it's so important, right? And again, I think that's what our friendship really has been like this last year. Like,
I think the accountability side of things as well is really important. I went through a phase with FFC where I was just so burnt out. I was thinking, what the hell? Like, where am I going with this? What do the women want? Like, how many more of these events can I put on? Like, I'm doing it on my own. I'm so tired. And you said to me, you can't drop the ball. Like, there's people who like are reliant on FFC. You can't drop the ball. Like you can't just go MIA. You can't go missing. And that level of accountability where you're not afraid to say to a friend, actually, you can't do that, is so important. You've got to have the right people around you. Absolutely.
You need friends who, when you're posting on Instagram, like different fonts as well, for them to say,
stop that.
Use one font and have a level of continuity, okay?
Yes. Yeah.
So you need it. And I think, again, like anytime that I have like a win in business or it's not even about business, right? Because even like you said, like those personal wins, like me joining a dance class and being consistent for 6 weeks.
That's epic. Me and my mum were talking about that the other day, actually. We were like, you know, when Devika says she's going to do something, she does it. My mum was like, did you see her? Did you see her dancing? I said, I did.
I love it. Every Tuesday, guys. But I think what you just said about like validation and the importance of that. So, you know, it's all well and good doing something for yourself, but then having people around you to like cheer you on and clap for you as well. Like you want to show up more.
Yes. When you've got people who are watching you and who are inspired by you, you have a duty. And I think that's something that I'm so passionate about. Like you have a duty to show up. You have a duty. You can't go missing. You can't. And if you are going to take a break, tell them why. If you're burnt out, tell them, because they're looking at you thinking, oh my God, I want to be just like her. Well, if you want to be just like me, you need to know the highs, the lows, everything, because it's not just about the successes. It's about when, you know, you're horizontal in bed thinking, oh my God, I've got 2 more days of the week and I don't know how I'm going to do it.
100%. Final question for yourself, Georgia.
Okay.
For anyone who really feels like they need to pivot and they need to make a big life change, but they're feeling uncertain or fearful, what advice could you give to them?
Okay. So I've got 2 things. One thing is stop living in a place of lack. Oh my God. So many of us sit in a place of lack of like, I've got £5,000 in the bank and that's my last £5,000 that I'm ever going to have. And if I move now, that £5,000 is going to be gone and I'm never going to make any more. Stop living in a place of lack. Allow the universe to bring abundance to you. Like, if you don't believe in manifestations or affirmations, you need to, because they work. I've seen it in my own life. Like, if you live in a place of lack and in a place of like, I don't have enough, I'm never going to have enough. Yeah, you will never have enough. So before you even take that leap, you need to do some work on your I don't want to say your mental state because that sounds really bad, but you need to do some work on the way that you think.
Mentality.
Yeah, mentality. You need to do some work on the way that you think and the way that you approach life. So that's my big one. That's my number one. And that will change the trajectory of your life. Like, I have seen it in my own life. Trust and believe. This year has been like monumental, but it's been monumental because I have decided to stop thinking about what I don't have and start thinking about what I do have, and accepting and willing and wanting more, and not being afraid to ask for more. You know, like, I will, when I'm doing my manifestations, I will ask, I'm ready, I want more. Like, give me more. I can handle more. I'm grateful for what I have, but I can physically handle more. You know, if you don't ask, you don't receive. So if in the real world, the tangible world, if you don't ask, you don't receive, then if you believe in spiritual world, which I do, if you don't ask, you're not going to receive. You have to ask. You have to ask the universe for what you want and allow it to come to you. Second thing is opportunities all around you. Just open your goddamn eyes. Like, open your eyes. Stop walking around with your eyes closed.
Take those bleepers off, girl.
Opportunities everywhere. Opportunities everywhere. You've got to be resourceful. You've got to think in your mind, okay, if I want to get from A to B, what are the steps that I need to take? If you want to become a motivational speaker, what are the steps that I need to take to get from not having any gigs to being booked every month? And take the steps.
Sure.
And accept the opportunities. And number 3 would be risk. If you're risk averse,
God help you.
God help you, because you have to be prepared to take the most wild and sometimes uncalculated risks. I have taken some crazy risks where I'm like, I don't know if this is going to pay off. And if it doesn't pay off, I'm going to learn something. If it does pay off, great. But you have to be prepared and ready to take risk and invest in yourself. The amount of money that we spend going out to eat, on drinks, on holiday and whatnot, and people don't want to invest in themselves. So you're not going to get anywhere, because the most successful people in the world invest in themselves every single day. And it's not investing in coaching. They may invest in their appearance. They may invest in going to yoga because it helps their clarity. They may invest in an accountability partner. They may invest in a coach, but they're not afraid to let money leave their bank account because they're not living in a place of lack. They know it's going to come back. So yeah, those would be mine.
Amazing. Just wanted to add on to that, because you know me,
I've got
a little bonus, a little extra. On the note of manifestation, a year ago, I wrote a post saying, you know, I'm going to spend the next year redesigning my life. And hopefully in a year's time, I'm going to be helping other people do the same. So
the Pivot Project is
happening.
Pivot Project.
It's happening.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. And the second thing, and you know this as well, I did like a little bit of a vision setting exercise. And within it, it said, you know, who's your community? Who are you around? And you've seen this, right? I was like, I'm really good friends with Georgia, and you know, I've got the Fierce Females Club around me. So again, how crazy.
It's mad how manifestation works, and like you speak out what you want. And I said this morning, I mean, I have a cream coat on, I was wearing cream, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a mess by the time I come home. I thought, no, I'm not saying that, because if you say it, it will come to pass. Like, you have to speak out what you want, and you did that. And also you put pen to paper. Oh my God, so powerful. When you write it down, that's when shit really starts to get real. You have to write it down.
Forget all these digital tools these
write
days.
it.
Get a piece of paper.
Yeah,
get a pen.
Write it. Vision board, all of that stuff. Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Georgia.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a pleasure. Give me your hands. Yay. Here's to pivoting more in 2025.
Here's to pivoting more in 2025.
And you need to go to your doctor's appointment. Listen. All right, before you go, can we take a photo?